At the time of me writing this, GTA 6 has been delayed a few times, but has officially been confirmed at an investor shareholder meeting to be released on November 19th, 2026. Now, I have a feeling that this time it's real because that would put it out before Black Friday and before the Christmas holiday, where anyone who has not gotten a PS5 yet could ask for one for Christmas, where there's sure to be some kind of bundle that sells them both together. I have a feeling that if it gets delayed again, then the investors are going to break into the Rockstar building and rip out the copper wire from the walls to get some of their money back. And once upon a time, this would have been incredible for me. I would have taken off a whole week of work. The good thing about being Mexican is that Thanksgiving isn't really a thing for me, so that's just 2 extra days off that I don't need to use as PTO. And I still might take a day or two just because. But it's not that I'm not excited about the game. I'm definitely going to be playing it. Most of the group chats I'm in, I'm going to be playing it at launch. But I kind of feel about it the way I did about phase 2 or 3 of the MCU back when I was in college. Back when the MCU movies were a group activity, midnight premieres, getting dinner beforehand, talking about it in the parking lot after the fact. And I remember not really seeing a trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, but one of my friends was telling me about it and that it was in the MCU. I honestly don't even remember if we were calling it the MCU yet, but I was like, well, okay, I guess we're going to make time to see that. Little did I know, I had no way of knowing that James Gunn's Guardians would be foundational to my life and be one of my favorite movie trilogies of all time. But the fact that I was going to watch it was a foregone conclusion. And that's kind of how I'm starting to feel about GTA 6. As I near my mid 30s, I've been one of the few people in my multiple friend groups who keeps up with new video games, and even one of the fewer ones that plays indie games. As I've gotten older, I've seen friends at different stages of life fall off gaming altogether. And even if they haven't given up on video games, I've seen them become ball and gun gamers. They play a sports game, usually a FIFA, a gun game, Call of Duty, or a Fortnite, and that's it. Sometimes you throw in an anime Arena Fighter, or Spider Man, or the 15th re release of Skyrim or The Last of Us, but every single one of them has come out of the woodwork to ask me about GTA 6. So much so that GTA 6 has become my default small talk topic. Like, I am not fun at parties at all, but mentioning GTA 6 to anyone who has ever touched a controller has been like a cheat code for social interactions this year. The advertising campaign hasn't even begun yet. Like, in an investment call, they said they were going to start ramping up advertising in the summer, which Summer Games Fest just ended and there was no announcement, so they probably mean actual summer, probably end of June. But there is a part of me that thinks, why would they need to? There is so much free marketing on social media right now. Like, if you go into any comment section, they'll say, we got this video before we got GTA 6. If I wanted to clickbait and get this video a bunch of views, I would talk about whether or not GTA 6 was going to be $100, which it's just not. And it's dumb that people are talking about it. It's either going to be $70 or $80 with $100 special edition that'll give you something special but digital. I don't even think it's going to be $80 because Nintendo's the only one doing that. Fire Emblem is $80 today, but it's still going to be $80 in 2032. But the discussion about it is provocative. It gets people going and provides free press about the game, keeping it in people's minds. There's no way for me to prove it, but I know you can boost videos, and I don't know if you can do it based on the topic, but I low-key genuinely believe that anyone who kicks the hornet's nest talking about it being $100 is either getting paid or they're just being a useful idiot. It reminds me of when Lionsgate used fan edits to boost advertising for the Hunger Games, and if you were a creator, then an easy way to get clout was to make a Hunger Games video. I don't even think it was ever revealed how they did it, but regulations are kind of up in the air right now, so we'll never know completely. But also, maybe I shouldn't attribute to malice what can be explained by people just being dumb or antagonizing. It's honestly starting to get to the point where, like, I was getting sick of people talking about GTA 6, but now I'm getting sick of people talking about how they're sick about hearing about GTA 6. Would you believe that Tangent was scripted? Even if you haven't played Grand Theft Auto, you certainly have heard about it, and even if you're not going to play it, you're going to be affected by it because we live in a society. The most annoying people you know are going to be calling it the greatest thing ever made, and it is also going to be overrated normie slop. But I'm making this video mostly to talk about the lead up to how we got here because even though I'm not jumping for joy about the gameplay, I am excited for what GTA 6 represents culturally and how it's almost too big to fail because of the legacy it's created for itself. I think all of the delays may have actually worked out in its favor. Now, if I wanted to be a better YouTuber, I would go back in time 10 years ago and then I would do a retrospective on the GTA series of the PS2. Vice City, 3, San Andreas. Literally look up anything piece about it and what makes them great, and you'll find it. It's been done. But I bring it up because when you compare it to modern dev time cycle, putting out three foundational video games all on one system is pretty amazing. I got so much mileage out of those games, and Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy X. I didn't have too many games for the PS2. I think I can count on both hands the number of games I had, but I still had thousands of hours of gameplay. But as great as those games are, because of how young video games are as a medium, then yeah, the ceiling for innovation was really high. So it was really relatively easy to impress compared to today. Dev skill has also increased. So what took a whole team to make GTA on the PS2 could be made by a single department in Rockstar today. If it released today, it would be considered an indie game, and majority of people would not be playing it. Like, yeah, it was great that you could pop in a disc and then it just works. No updates, no Wi-Fi, but compared to modern games, you get less game. It's just the trade-off you made back then. However, even then, right after the PS2, we got a really big jump forward and started to see into what video games could become. Going to the seventh generation of games, the 360 and the PS3, I went in with the 360, literally because that's where my friends were playing. And I thought, oh, I'll buy a PS3 when it's cheaper and when Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out. Which, yeah, you can say I'm patient with waiting. This GTA 6 has been nothing for me. But to pass the time in 2008, I had GTA 4, which was one of the first grounded stories from a video game that I remember being done well. Like, I was big on Final Fantasy and Pokemon, fantasy anime stuff, but GTA 4 was really grounded. It really did look so much like New York that when I finally went to New York myself, it felt familiar. The characters felt real. You could drive after drinking. You had memorable, over the top characters. I haven't seen The Sopranos, so if GTA 4 is just The Sopranos, then my bad. But it had such a compelling narrative with moments that were perfect for millennial referential humor. 2008 is also when YouTube started to become popular, where videos were short and concise because of file size and time limits. You had Badger, 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 and Charlie the Unicorn, and the Lonely Island song about the guy with his pants that I don't think you can say anymore without getting censored. To put it into context, Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne was the most popular music video of the time. But really, it was the sandbox of GTA 4 that allowed it for perfectly clippable moments. The ragdoll physics still make me laugh to this day, and the driving was awful. I stand by that. But because it was awful, it made it that much funnier to screw up. It was the perfect marriage of YouTube brevity and slapstick comedy. Because when it comes to video game clips, you don't need a backstory, you don't need world building. You can just jump in and see what's happening. And there's also the relief of knowing it's not a real person, so you can laugh and not feel bad, as opposed to the Schadenfreude of prank videos. Was the lead up to GTA 6 people either rediscovering or discovering it on Steam for the first time because, it came out 18 years ago. So, yes, it's old enough to vote, but keep it away from Jerry Seinfeld in 1993. The one I keep getting algorithmed is Carmageddon, which is a mod where all the cars are maxed out at speed and you have to get from one end into the map to the other without dying. It's another method of viral marketing that keeps the franchise fresh on people's minds, and we're going to see so much of it in the first year of release. But going back to its release year in 2008, Instagram was 4 years away, TikTok was 10 years away, Twitter was still just celebrities in a glorified Facebook status machine. Even going viral on YouTube meant only getting 30,000 views. So eventually, GTA 4 had had its 15 minutes of fame, and it was time to move on. And so in 2013, GTA 5 released on both 7th gen consoles, the 360 and the PS3, and the 8th gen, the Xbox One and the PS4. I had bought it for my original 360 that had the Red Ring of Death that I got warranted. And I remember trading it in at GameStop for the next gen, and I specifically remember on the receipt that the actual disc of GTA 5 was worth nearly the same as the Xbox 360 console. But it was also in 2010s when things really ramped up. You do an entire movie trilogy quick. The Hunger Games released in 2012 and was finished in 2016, to put it into perspective. Chris Evans was Captain America from 2011 to 2019, and he was in 8 different MCU projects. Meanwhile, Anthony Mackie has been Captain America for 7 years and has been in 2 MCU projects. But another thing that seems funny now is that PC gaming got easier and cheaper to get into. With off the shelf parts, you could hook up your console or play on your computer to stream to something called Twitch. Now, I first learned about Twitch Plays Pokemon, which was just that, a social experiment where you type a button in a chat and control a character. I spent hours after work just watching and typing away. It really proved the proof of concept that there was an audience who people who wanted to watch people play video games instead of playing it themselves. Now, there are people to this day that find that concept weird, but honestly, it kind of makes sense. Like, we watch people play sports, we watch people cook food, but the biggest intersection is that we watch people be funny or entertaining. So, while yes, it was an esports life, for the most part, the biggest streamers are not the ones that are the most talented at the game, but rather the ones that are the funniest or most fun to watch. And even if you didn't want to watch the live stream aspect of it, afterwards they would end up edited and posted on YouTube. There's these things called Let's Plays that started emerging, which was really my bread and butter, and compilations of edited video, playing games with dead air cut out and the funny bits left in. Gameplay be damned, it literally was just jokes. I've watched countless hours of Funhouse, Game Grumps, Doug do stuff with GTA mods, mess with each other, trying to derail the train on just in story mode, and GTA Online even more so, because as fun as the story mode in GTA 5 was, the online mode really allowed for antics and comedic situations with other people. And then that led to this thing of, because streamers were making money from people watching them play GTA, then they could spend that money that they were making as a business expense on shark cards, which are the microtransactions, where you spend real life money to try to get digital in game currency that you could use to buy clothing, motorcycles, cars. None of them that were particularly better than any of the free stuff that you could get in the world. It was either purely cosmetic or a gimmick like a flying motorcycle. So whether it was role playing lobbies or just racing or doing heists online with your friends, which is what ended up replacing the story mode DLC, the online microtransactions to this day make $1 million a day. Which, if come on November 19th they flip the switch and then shut off the online mode currently for everyone, then yeah, I don't think it would be a success. But there are going to be people who are going to continue playing like the online of GTA 5 for years to come. Some of those people are never going to buy a PS5 or buy the sequel. And so they're going to play on their PS4 or PC until the day comes that they sunset the servers. But they're going to be making money hand over fist from those people every single day until that happens. Which brings me to my point of, since the pandemic, there has been an influx of not just micro influencers, people with 1 to 50,000 followers, subscribers, whatever, but also people who have not made a single post, but have it in the back of their minds that being an influencer is a potential side hustle. People of all ages, whether they be high schoolers who are thinking about what they're going to do with their lives, or people in their 40s who are sick of the grind and sick of corporate America. 10 years ago, you needed a camera, a microphone, lights, and a bunch of stuff in order to attempt being a streamer, but now you can literally do it from your phone. The barrier of entry is that much lower, so the amount of people who are going to try is going to be that much higher. And if you don't have any of the charm or wit or personality to draw people in, then you can spend money on a credit card to buy the microtransactions to draw people into your stream and just tell yourself that you're going to make that money back. You're calling it a business expense now. This is purely anecdotal, but I know people in real life who try to flex their credit card to buy the FIFA Ultimate Team and try to stream that. And to brag a little bit, a lot of people who stream that and like struggle to even get affiliate status, and I got that in about a month. And I was also able to buy this mic with the payout. Do I need to keep streaming to keep that status? And so you'll have this situation where the biggest streamers like a Markiplier or a Jacksepticeye can stream whatever they want. The top 1% of people who play games don't need to play it. But for the rest of the 99% of us who are going to have an influx of new potential audience members who are not buying the game at launch but want to be part of the conversation, or who would rather just watch somebody else play it because consoles are more expensive now than they were at launch 6 years ago. And so, with that influx of people wanting to see GTA content, you'll have an influx of wannabe streamers trying to grab the crumbs of attention. Those wannabe streamers will then be the commercial for people who are sitting on a fence or waiting for a sale, or they only buy 1 or 2 games a year. Which brings me to my next point, which is that for a while it seemed like there weren't any games coming out, especially if you were a ball and gun gamer. Me, an enlightened gamer, was eating well with indies and smaller titles, but even I can't deny that it felt different this generation. Video game journalist Jason Schreier posted a video about why video games take so long to make these days. I'll link it in the description, but one of the things he cites is that COVID disrupted things a lot. People were not used to being remote. It was difficult to manage the creativity aspect with someone over screen. Video games also require physical hardware, so getting access to that was difficult. Schreier doesn't mention this, but the crypto bubble of the early 2020s, GPUs were hard to get, and so this affected studio businesses as well. Also, not to mention that, it was a pandemic. So I'm sure a lot of people were not feeling creative or productive when you didn't know if the world or the economy was going to be relevant at the end of the fiscal year in September. Schreier mentions a dev from Outer Worlds 2 that is quoted, "I wish we had that year back." And that's one of the reasons why this generation of video games has felt weird. Like, you couldn't even get a PS5 at launch for a good while because scalpers were grabbing them up and selling them for 1.5 times the price on Marketplace or eBay. Which, honestly, even I forgot about that aspect of it until I started writing this. Another purely anecdotal thing, but I've also seen people kind of want to forget about COVID. Like, they will straight up stop watching a TV show or a movie if they mention it, and I cannot relate because with everything going on in the world, I have to remind myself that we actively went through that. But even as much as you want to forget that, the effects are still here. Stores have learned that you can make the same amount of profit by not having overnight stock people. And so not shopping in the store, you have to navigate around workers restocking. Every millennial brewery has a QR code instead of a paper menu. And I also want to bring up that alcohol sales are down across the board. And one of the reasons I believe is that no matter what your opinion on the pandemic and how it was handled and the effects of it, everyone had to live through that. And it affected everyone in a way that made them more cautious and flinchy. That's why everyone is more health conscious now. That's why there's protein and fiber and everything, because even though COVID never went away, you still should get your vaccine. People want to be prepared and they want to be ready. I don't believe that this is a front of mind thing. Like, if you ask someone why they don't drink anymore and they say they want to be healthy, and you ask why, they probably are not going to say, "I'm traumatized from COVID." And so decades are not really a good measure for the passage of time as much as eras are. I think that's why it became a popular slang, like, "Oh, you're in your blank era." For example, even though the 90s ended on January 1st, 2000, most sociologists agreed that the 90s did not end until September 11th, 2001. And that's really when you started to see a culture shift. Going back to my seemingly beloved 2010s, the 2010s didn't really culturally start until 2012. It was by then that flip phones were out of fashion and everyone had a smartphone. The Avengers had come out and established itself in the culture as a cinematic universe instead of a bunch of random movies. Millennial Gray started showing up in people's Instagrams feeds. Also, Instagram came out. And so, even though the 2010s ended on January 1st, 2020, I would actually argue that it ended with the end of. And so, even though the 2010s ended on January 1st, 2020, I would actually argue that it ended culturally with the end of Game of Thrones, Avengers Endgame. And so, we were in that limbo for a few months culturally before, boom, the pandemic started the new era. I think even though it's been 5 years since the vaccine and 4 years since the Delta variant, it still kind of feels like we're in the COVID era. And if not, then we are still feeling the effects of the COVID era. Going back to what I said about GTA 4 having had its 15 minutes and late to rest, compare that to Fortnite, which has been kind of a precedent of forever games. Like, you have to stay relevant forever. You have to keep digging up new ideas and build on top of it. Battle Royale as a genre came out in 2017. And so if someone was 13 playing that game, the way I was 13 playing Halo 2, then that kid is now 22 years old and they have never known a new GTA. Like, to them, GTA 5 was probably a game their older brother was playing and they were not allowed to. And this whole time, Fortnite has stayed free to play, making money hand over fist with microtransactions. And again, with consoles being nearly $600 now and seemingly to only go up again and again, it has established itself as an old reliable of people's rotations of games. If you play Fortnite in 2026 as an adult, then that doesn't really say anything about you. Not in the way that a Final Fantasy 14 or World of Warcraft does. And GTA as a franchise is that type of game. People of all orientations, races, gender, who play video games have been playing GTA and are going to keep playing GTA. I think it's up there with sports in terms of a cultural connector, but it is getting old. Like butter spread over too much bread, people are wanting something new. And as much as people say that they want new ideas or a new IP, there is something good, comforting about an old familiar thing. I wouldn't even call this nostalgia. I would call it an earned legacy. Like, with everything happened, people do want a little old fashioned fun. There are some bastions of the old guard that are still standing and keeping us from moving on, but the cracks have started forming. Destiny has ended after 13 years. Stranger Things and Euphoria have ended. The last game of the Final Fantasy VII remakes just got announced for spring of 27. The Artemis 2 went to the moon for the first time since 1972. We got a new Chicago Pope. It's not just video games where the change is happening. All that to say, it's been 8 years since Rockstar released any game, and the culture is yearning for something new. I have a feeling that this is just going to be one domino that falls amongst many others. I'm recording this at the beginning of June 2026, and yes, things are bad economically. The job market sucks. People are being forced to take lower paying jobs and therefore setting back their salary ceilings. But I want to point out that we as people have been here before. So I don't think this is going to affect the cultural impact of GTA 6. If you've seen The Big Short, the bear stock began to crash in July of 2007. And March of 2008, it was declared the Great Recession. 2007 is also considered one of the best years in gaming. Halo 3, Rock Band, Mass Effect, Portal, Gears of War, and in 2008 came out GTA 4, Fallout, The World Ends With You, Left 4 Dead. There was joy to be found even in all the bad. In 2025, we got Expedition 33, Silk Song, Hades 2, Kingdom Come Deliverance. We finally got Metroid 4, which talk about another long wait. Now in 2026 so far, we've gotten Resident Evil Requiem, 007, Forza 6, Amino the Hollow Earth. That's not even counting all the games that just got announced for Summer Games Fest cycle. Like, we're finally getting all the games that have been cooking in the COVID incubator. Wolverine, Silent Hill, Fire Emblem, Control Resident, Blood of the Dawn Walker. It's not just me, the indie boy, that's been eating well now. Everyone's eating. There is joy to be found in all of the bad. And in November, more than likely, we'll get GTA 6. And a few months after that, more games will come out, which means more fun. History does not repeat itself, but it is like poetry. It rhymes. I don't know what's going to happen between now and November, but I know two things are going to be true. GTA 6 will be incredibly successful and live up to the hype, and GTA 6 will not meet expectations and will not live up to the hype. But the weight of GTA 6 is a load bearing wall on the old era, and things are going to change once it comes out. I just don't know if that's going to be good, great, bad, or worse, or neutral. But I'm excited to see what comes next. If you made it this far, thanks you for watching. Like, subscribe, leave a comment on how you feel about GTA 6, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, good night and good luck.